Hi, I'm Kirsten. We're making our way through the major arcana, learning how to recognize the energies and how they manifest in our life, and how we can work through them. So today is the Hermit. This is a really, really important card. This is the 9th card in the major arcana. We can look; it's very clearly seen. It's a person. Looks like it's at night with his lantern that's glowing and a walking stick. So what is he doing at night? Looking for something. To me, this card resembles going into the depths of your soul where only you are and finding yourself. This is a critical state of enlightenment. Enlightenment is the goal. Transcending is the goal, okay? So how do we obtain this? Basically, the Hermit is step away from all material, earthly things and find total and complete satisfaction, joy, and contentment alone. How does this look? Most of us went through 2020 where we were forced to be at home and be alone. Some of us really were alone. We saw the stories on the news of people that were starting to experience psychosis, mental issues, mental health issues, and it really transcended. It really became into physical health. There was just depression all over the place, and this is what we do not want. The Hermit card is all about being at home and being alone with yourself and being at peace. The goal is that if you are the only person in your life, you are enough. You never have to rely on anybody else again to find joy, to find peace, to find relation. You have all of this within you, and that's why this is such an important part of the tarot. This step you have to revisit several times in your life. This step is removing yourself from a group of friends that are wild and crazy and that are just kind of wasting your time. This could be stepping away from, and becoming your own friend. Now, you don't stay in the Hermit mode forever. When you when you go into the Hermit mode and you clean out the clutter, and you redefine who you are and you stand firmly in who you are, then you can go out into the world and enjoy everybody as you should at face value. You shouldn't need their approval. You shouldn't need anybody to ask you out on a date. You shouldn't need anybody. You shouldn't be lonely if you don't get a phone call from your son or your daughter, or their kids aren't even talking to you, or whatever. You should be okay with who you are. And as you step into Hermit mode, you're gonna fix some stuff. You're gonna adjust some stuff about yourself. This is something that's gonna happen many times. What you don't want to do is you don't want this to come up in crisis, even though a lot of times it does. A lot of times people go into the Hermit mode when that last straw breaks. That's what you definitely want to avoid. You don't want to go into Hermit mode in desperation, because once you go into Hermit mode, you want to come out better. I know a man who lost his job, his profession that he was at for 30 something years, who when he was forced early into retirement, let's say, he got a really great severance package for like a year and a half, and in that year and a half he spent being completely pissed off. He was a victim. He was pissed off. He developed so much hate and angst and all this kind of stuff that literally that one event was the event that he just spiraled downhill. It's been almost 14 years. It has been 14 years since that has happened. And this man has done nothing in his life. He wasted that time when he was getting severance money to learn something new or to expand a new career or just branch out by himself. So that after the severance was gone, he was already on his feet again. going a new direction, having a I don't want to say a second chance, but kind of like, like, hey, now let's go live this life. Let's go do this for a living. Like, he could have made a hobby or something out of a new passion, but instead he chose just to be freaking pissed off and mad at the world and a victim, and he's still in that mentality today. Now he is 75 years old, and he's alone. He is miserable. He nobody wants to be around him, and he doesn't even want to be around him. I mean, he's just one of those people that just deflate a room. How are things going? And he'll give you a list of how everything is going bad. And not only that, if that list isn't long enough, everybody he knows, he only focuses on the terrible things that happen. Excuse me. So you don't want to go into hermit mode out of crisis. You want to go into hermit mode with the mind thought of, I'm going to find myself, and I'm going to find things that I like about myself. Because at the end of the day, I've only got me. Well, and your spirit. When I did this, during 2020 when we were quarantined, I absolutely loved it, because this gave me the absolute reason to break off relationships that were doing me absolutely no good. I mean, I cut off my relationship with my best friend of 17 years because she was getting worse in quarantine, and her vibration was going down and mine was going up, and she was trying so hard to drown me. I just had to snap it. And then all of a sudden, I was like, wow, it feels really good not to carry that weight. We were friends for such a long time, I didn't even realize the weight that I was carrying with that relationship. I enjoyed quarantine so much that when it was lifted, I live in Texas, I went ahead and extended it like another 6 months. I was like, you know what? I'm good. Everybody's wanting to get together. And I'm like, I reached deep down inside of myself, and I found things I didn't even know that I really liked. For one, I didn't know how much I enjoyed learning about different cultures and spirituality. I never had the time to explore it. I never had the time to understand it. And that was so rich and fulfilling that I just found so many other things boring. My girlfriends, who were talking about going out on dates with guys, or, with this or that, I was like, that's so boring. Like, those relationships are boring. Like what about, I wanted only to talk about things with real substance, things that made a difference, at least to me, things that improved me, improved the world, improved people. I took health. I learned about so many natural forms of health, and I really started to understand, Vedic astrology, and I just found parts of me that I'd never been able to spend time on and enrich them. And a lot of times, some of those things that I found out about myself were things that other people suppressed. This is such an important step in becoming enlightened. It's such an important personal development situation. This is a very easy way to channel this kind of energy. Simply sit in a quiet place, listening to nothing, and focus on your breathing. And every breath that you take, you just be thankful for you. That's it. I know there's one guy, there's one man that I follow, and he says, man, a few times a day, I just stop and I concentrate on my breath. Like, I just put my concentration in my nostrils. It's the only thing I concentrate on. Turning within. Realizing the breath that you are taking is the most important breath that there is to be taken. Hermit is when we either choose or we are forced to step away from the material world and go within. And we go in there with a lantern and a stick because we're desperate to find something. use this. This will either, there's no escaping the major arcana. It will manifest in your life. Implement this before it becomes implemented upon you. So when the crises happen and you find yourself alone, you're okay. You're okay. When that divorce happens, that breakup happens, that getting fired happens, it's okay. Because you're not defined by the material world. That's how important this card is. It is so important to know yourself, to love yourself, to spend time with yourself, to know how to remove things from yourself. And sometimes you just got to step away from everybody else and do it. It can be a weekend. It can be a bubble bath. Self-care. So that is, like I said, this is one of the most important cards that I think that there is. If you can be completely fine and happy by yourself, every other relationship will flourish. Every other relationship will become better. And all the bad relationships, you're going to let them go with ease. You will send out the walking papers. You just want to have time. When you realize how precious your time is, when you realize how valuable your time is, when the greatest currency that you have is you, things change. Every relationship gets better, especially with yourself. So I encourage you to embrace the Hermit. I encourage you to pick this energy, focus on it. In fact, make it an ongoing thing after you really get in there and find yourself and love yourself and find out why you like yourself. And okay, I'll give you some of these examples. Is that I have a really, really, I can get mad. I can get really mad. I can get passionately mad, okay? And I can do things like throw a fit, burn a house down, that is totally in my birth chart, okay? And so instead of like trying to not be like that, I tried to figure out why I'm like that. And I started to learn that it's because I feel like people don't validate my feelings. When I get this mad, it's because somebody is not listening or paying attention to me. And when I get this mad, it's because I feel like I don't feel safe. My wants and my needs, it usually comes down to safety, is that I don't feel safe. I don't feel taken care of. I don't feel provided for, something like that, okay? And so what I learned is I now only choose environments where I am safe. I don't go around people who trigger me. That includes family members. I don't go around people who are in a bad mood. There are some people, you got to be there for them. But people that perpetually live in a bad mood put me in a bad mood. And then I go home and I'm in a bad mood. And then I can get really mad. Okay, so I just learned not to be around these people. And then it's amazing. I don't get mad anymore. I don't get mad at that kind of stuff. I don't yell anymore. I don't, throw a fit because I'm constantly around triggers that I've been forced to entertain my entire life. Instead, I went into myself, learned about myself, learned how this is not good for me, and then was adult enough and also my biggest advocate to be like, I'm never giving this control over to anybody again. And that means that I'm going to stand up for myself because I know I don't want to be with myself when I'm mad like that. Who I want to be with is when I'm happy, when I'm funny, when I'm learning, when I'm teaching. I love to teach things. And so that's who I am. Now, I'm also I will light your fucking house on fire. But that's not who I live with. That's a self-defense mechanism. That is a trigger. And I don't live in a triggered world anymore. Things that used to push my buttons, I figured it out. And I realized it's not necessary. These are the kind of things you learn about yourself. when you're just by yourself and you realize you have to learn who you are and you have to become the biggest advocate for yourself, not for everybody else. You got to give that up. So I hope that this brings you some enlightenment. I hope this shows you different ways to use the Hermit and how it manifests in your life. When you see this card in a tarot spread, it can mean a lot of different things. There's a lot of channels that tell you the natural meaning of it, or whatever, the original meaning of it. For me, it's like, wow, this person is either done a lot of self-reflection. This person needs to do self-reflection. This person is missing something. This person needs to discover something about their personality. This person needs to let go of material possessions, just depending on what cards are around it. This person knows himself so well that he needs to trust themselves, okay? This card is about personal enlightenment once you find it. This card, to me, it's a game changer when you go through this, if you use the time correctly. If this is time that is not used correctly, you will waste such an important tool for you to evolve. So, what are your thoughts? And happy hermiting.